Okay, so we're going to talk about visual design for games, the second year module. So this is for first years to inform them, or better inform them, or you, of the choices you can make into your second year. So Matt, I'm going to ask you some questions.
Okay.
Let's start with, can you describe the module in one sentence?
So visual design is a module that's designed to allow students to explore the visual medium of games a little bit more. So we'll explore not only sort of character creation, environment creation, prop creation techniques, but we'll look at textures, we'll look at the technical side of things like trim sheets and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll also look at the artistic side of design. So we'll go further. I know in first year we've done a little bit of colour theory, but we'll go further into colour theory. We'll look at typography and fonts and layout and composition and mood and storytelling through design. So we're going to look at a little bit more of how you build a narrative within whatever you build, whether it is characters or environments.
Cool, sounds good. That was a long sentence.
It was a very long sentence.
Let's go with, so there are 3 choices that students can make in second year. So who's likely to pick a visual design for games module?
I think anyone that sits on the artistic side of the game development spectrum. Mm-hmm. So anyone that has an interest in anything from environment design to characters to 2D as well. So we always talk a lot about 3D, but actually if you're into the 2D side of things as well, you can visual design is really good for that.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
The designers that want to explore how you lay out things in interesting ways. So for instance, this year we've got someone who's really into board games, so he's exploring how do you actually lay out compositionally for like board game templates, box art, card graphic art, and things like that. So anyone that is on the visual spectrum.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about. So we know who it's for. We know what it's about. What about a typical session? Is it studio or is it lecture tutorial? Or?
It's studio based, so a 2-hour session, and that 2-hour session is split between. Some weeks we'll do very heavy theory, content based stuff. So we'll talk about one of the subjects, so let's say typography, we'll have an entire session on that, whereas some weeks it'll be all crit based, so we'll do a mixture of one-on-one feedback, so it's me discussing things with you, or we'll do class-based feedback as well.
Okay, that sounds pretty cool. Let's go with assessment now. So I'm interested in how it's assessed. Is it a single piece or multiple pieces? And then roughly when do they submit?
So it's split into 2 assignments.
Mm-hmm.
In semester 1, so just before Christmas, you'll submit your first piece, which is worth 40% of the grade.
Cool.
And that is a piece of your choice. So the medium is up to you. So whether you want to do characters, when you want to do environment, when you want to do 3D or 2D, it's up to you. But the theme itself is sort of quite limited. So the scope of what you've got to do is sort of restrained back by a couple of keywords, which change every year. So
we can't predict next year.
Yes, so it makes you try and think outside the box a little bit about what you design. And then after Christmas is where we do our main second assignment, which is worth 60%. And that one's called Open Season, because you tell me what the brief is going to be.
Okay. So I just pick something, and then as long as you approve, it's a go.
Yeah. So I usually try and encourage it to be based off a piece of text, so that you actually have to be creative about how you design something.
Piece of text, like a sentence, or like a bit from a book, or something.
Yeah. So we've had people in the past do a character that is based off a description of, let's say, an alien. So, or a description of an environment.
Yeah. Cool. You didn't mention. You said after Christmas, but you didn't mention the submission. So is it right at the end of the second semester?
So that one is at the very end of the year.
Okay. Cool. And then I think we'll jump on to examples. So if you have any examples that you might be able to talk us through.
Yeah. So we've got a couple of examples here. One is from Reese. So he's got a couple of pieces here. So this is from his first semester. So semester 1. So he had a couple of key descriptors that he needed to actually sort of stick to.
What were they?
And one of them was must include clothing.
Oh, okay.
Must be an urban area,
So
and
post-apocalyptic shop.
So there's a couple of things. So he's got this sort of scene that's been destroyed. But I think the thing that differentiates this from, let's say, first year's game asset module where they build a scene is that it's no longer about just building something. It's about the process of that. So his sketchbook is really quite detailed into what he was looking at the time, where his influences are coming from.
So there's some justification for the choices.
And then doing things like experimentation, so white boxing multiple variations of something to see actually which one works better compositionally. And interestingly, there's an entire street outside that scene, which actually you can only just see through the frosted glass. But we discovered through experimentation that you needed it because you needed to see the world was actually bigger than just that store.
Couldn't you have done that with like a skybox type scenario?
You probably could have done because he actually, in the end, he made the window very cracked, very frosted. Whereas earlier on in development, it was a little bit more focused, which is actually what we want to see. We want to see that iteration, that continually developing over the year and looking at new techniques and processes.
Cool.
And then into semester 2 is where, again, he wanted to look at environments again. So he set this brief of this space station, which was based off a piece of concept art that he found right here. And
is that a Sid Meier's piece?
I actually don't know. It might have been. I can't remember the artist.
Like
but again, it's based off that as an influence, but looking at other influences in like Blade Runner and things like that are bringing that reference.
Yeah, I could see that.
And then going through and looking actually not just at building environment, but looking at the tech that goes to building environment. So in this case, he's looking at modular environments. He's looking at trim sheets. He's looking at reusing of assets, looking at using splines to create cabling and pipes, but also optimizing as he goes. So there's a lot in here in terms of the development process and what he's looking at when he's doing that. So it's not just environments. It could also be like Oliver or Melissa looking at characters and looking at the influences of prototyping and concepting of multiple design ideas all the way through to the final piece. So
this is just for the character one, because of course there's another option of doing character animation. So here, in character animation, it's more about the technical aspects of building a character, if I'm right. Whereas Viz is more about the look and feel and appendages, legs, whatever, the length, the anatomy. Is that right?
Yeah. So the character animation module, you're going to look at sort of sculpture, anatomy, process, and we'll do a little bit of that in Viz, but we'll also look at like cultural influences. How do you actually make something feel like it belongs to that time period and that era or that location?
Cool. Sounds pretty cool. I think that's everything. Anything you want to add finally?
No, I think it's just, again, we've shown some examples of a lot of 3D here, but it's also can be applied to 2D. We've had people that do pixel art and sprite work in the past, and or even little bits of concept art and painting. Or even if you want to be ambitious, actually, let's get some clay out and make some actual physical models.
Ooh, that sounds cool. Okay, thank you very much.